Hello again, it's Matthew from Matthew North Music here. Now, today's video, I'm going to be building something. Now, recently, if you've been following any of my social media, you'd have seen that I'd went to the New Day Festival in Kent, of which I still need to upload all my photographs, so they'll be appearing on my Facebook page soon. However, while I was in Kent, I also went to the museum that's called This Museum Is Not Obsolete, otherwise known as the Museum of Everything Else, or known as the museum run by Look Mum No Computer. Now, some of you on here I know will have followed Look Mum No Computer's website, Sam Battle. He's a brilliant guy. He comes up with just the great content. You know, he designs things, he builds things, he makes synthesizers, he makes music. He finds old bits of technology that he then repurposes to make music. And recently he's even built his own telephone exchange, and I went to his museum and it was brilliant. There's so much good stuff there. So if you're ever in the Ramsgate area of Kent, it is definitely got to be high on your list of places to visit. Anyway, while I was there, they've got a little gift shop, as all museums do, and I bought the usual things, a couple of t-shirts, I bought one of his albums on cassette, and I bought some printed circuit boards, and I bought two lots of PCBs, and the one I'm going to build today, or I'm going to start to build today I should say, is this one, and it's called the Fart Box. Now, when he designed it, he just wanted to make something that made farty noises, but as it turns out, it also does work very well as a 2-oscillator single filter synthesizer. So what I plan to do is to build this and then hopefully get some noises out of it. Now, this is the limited edition white PCB, which, yeah, it does look really cool actually. And what I will do with every build, I will populate it with the smallest components first, so that'll be all the resistors and diodes, and then start adding all the other components. Now, I haven't got everything for this board yet. I've ordered a few parts and I haven't got any of the potentiometers yet for it, but I'll order them as well. But hopefully by the end of this video I'll be making some noises out of this PCB, so let's go and give it a go. Hopefully you can see on the PCB there's this funny sort of line here, and I did wonder if that might be a problem, but I posted a photograph of it up to the discussion forum for this project, and somebody there advised me that it's probably going to be okay, so I'm just going to leave it. It looks like it was a possible fault in fabrication and they just put a bit of paint over it or something. Either way, I don't mind, as long as it works, that's the main thing. Anyhow, I printed out the parts list. I've got most of it on this side, although I've got the complete bill of materials on there. But this will be handy, and what I shall do now is I'm going to start putting in components. So I'll probably do the resistors first, then I'll do the diodes, then I will put in things like the voltage regulators, and then put in all the capacitors. Pretty much all the parts I need other than the pots and possibly a couple of switches, although I think I probably do have the right value switches, I've got. So it should be fairly quick. I have ordered all the pots off eBay earlier from a UK seller, so all being well I should have all the bits by the end of the week. And I've also ordered the metal case that Sam recommended, and that'll be turning up soon. And he's also supplied a drilling template, so I should just be able to just drill the box, label it up maybe with a silver marker, and then be able to have some fun. Well, we're not quite finished yet on this build, but I've got quite a few of the components in now. We've got all the integrated circuits in there, nearly all the capacitors. I'm waiting on a couple of values. I didn't have one there and one up here. We have these trimmer pots in there, which I think are for tuning the circuit. Really, I should have had ones where the screw terminal was at the end rather than at the side, but these are ones I had at hand. If I find they're a faff, then I'll just replace them. Here we're going to have all the variable resistors for all the different functions. They'll actually be mounted that side of the board, but they haven't arrived yet. But otherwise it's looking pretty good. For me, this is going to be the trickiest part of the build. I'm going to be drilling the case, Now the way I've done it is I've got a printout of the circuit board, and that is the circuit board, and each switch and knob, the center point is marked out on the drill template. So in essence what I will do is I will put a center punch right bang in the middle of every switch and every pot, with the hope that once all those are drilled, there's even some LEDs there as well, once they're all drilled out, then the board will fit inside. So I will just take my centre punch and my trusty hammer, which was my dad's, which is at least 50 years old now, and we'll just go right into the centre of where each hole goes and just go. If I now remove this, in theory, we'll now take off the wrapping. Now, a lot of people would put it on this side of the box. However, because I've got those horizontal tweakers, which I will need to get access to, it'll be easier to access them using this. Plus, if it turned out I made a complete and utter pig's ear of this, then what I could do is I could then do it on the other side, and then this could then just be covered or something. But as it is, all the holes are there. Well then, this is as terrifying as it is exciting. I've placed on the board all the switches and all the pots, and I've drilled out the case. Now I know that the switches and the LEDs line up because I used just the switches as a guide to get the LED lengths right in the right place. Now, the idea is that because none of these are actually soldered in, I should be able to basically slot it all together and with a bit of wiggling get everything lined up. Okay, well, believe it or not, most of it all lined up okay. Now, what I had to do was I drilled 6mm holes because they fitted nice and snug, but then I realised there wasn't quite enough wriggle room, so I re-drilled them all at 6.5mm, and that seems to have done it. So now everything's in place where it should be, and what I will do now is I will start soldering everything in. I'm going to do the switches first, and then I will bolt the switches into position, and then I shall solder in all the pots. Well, welcome back to the day after at the messy table. Now, I have, in fact, kind of finished it now. There's our board mounted in the case, and on the back here, you can see here, this is the plug that will have the big switch that it has just to trigger it, and there's also an LED to go with it. Now, I don't intend to actually use that switch, so I've just left the wires coiled up in case I change my mind, but I have got an LED fitted in there. And at the top we've got the two LEDs here for the oscillators. These are all our pots. Now, I did make the holes slightly bigger than they needed to be, only a little bit, just so that it would all fit together. And I did have to take this out of the case a couple of times for testing because I had made a few errors. A couple of bits weren't quite soldered in properly. However, it does appear to work. And if we look at the back of the case, you can just about see there's our AC in, there's our control voltages for oscillator 1 and oscillator 2, our gate and the audio output, and these all go to these Molex connectors. So what we do now is double check. Yep, so this is the gate, and this will go into here, what's called input jack, but that is the gate. That's everything in place, so pop it on there. And I'll pop the screws in, and we'll plug it into the BeatStep Pro and have a little play with it. Well, I do apologise for the absolute mess that is my desk. I'm doing a million things at once at the moment, but I've basically hooked up this thing which I've recently acquired called the BeatStep Pro. And it does control the synth okay. Now, for some reason, I don't know why, I need to do some fine tweaks because the synth isn't quite in tune. And also, I can't seem to work out how to get the octaves to change on this. Anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just let you hear kind of how it works. Now, I've got the main oscillator on, and you can see it's got a nice fat sound. And if I play a sequence, bring in the other oscillator. I mean, it was called the fart box after all, and it certainly lives up to its name as far as sounds go. Okay, that's a very rough and random demo of it. I mean, I think once I've got the hang of how to get it tuned, because there's a load of trimmer pots inside, I mean, I think you can probably get some more sort of traditional synth sounds out of this thing. But you can certainly get some great, funny, weird electronic noises out of it as well. So it's been a good, fun thing to build. It wasn't the easiest thing to do because of the circuit board and fitting it in the case as much as anything else. And some of the parts aren't that cheap, really. Some of them are quite expensive. So, you know, it's probably cost me best part of 100 quid to knock this together once you buy a power supply and everything else. But either so, it was good fun to build. And like I say, I'm going to spend a bit more time on it and try and get some better sounds out of it than what I've just demonstrated there. Now, I have to say, I found the ending of this video deeply unsatisfactory. There's a lot more to what you can do with one of these than what I have shown you, a lot more. Now, I decided I would try a little bit harder to try and get something a bit more musical out of this. So I hooked this up to the BeatStep Pro, I triggered that via MIDI out of my computer, and I knocked up a little 1-minute ditty of a synth pop type tune. And there's 2 tracks of this on it, so all the sort of sweepy sounds you hear have all come out of this. And there's a bit of string sound coming off the Roland D20, and there's some bass guitar, and there's some TO 405 drum machine, and that's it. And it's just basically wanted to show that you can actually get something musical out of this. And I will spend a little bit more time on it, fine-tuning it literally. And then I think this could well be really, really good to use on a recording, and maybe even take it with a BeatStep Live. I don't know yet, but anyway, I hope you did enjoy the video, and I'll leave you now with this little short ditty, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.